Namaste, everyone. There are elections coming up everywhere on the globe right now that we have a stake in, including in India. Modi's most likely going to win again there, which is unfortunate. I used to be highly supportive of what he was doing in India, but now no longer. I don't like him anymore because number one, he genuinely treats minorities like absolute garbage and despises them on a personal level. Not just Muslims, but practically all non Hindus, and makes zero effort at accommodating them, even if they're innocent. Even a lot of the Hindutva guys who deride minorities fervently and passionately give the Zoroastrians a pass, considering them to be one of their offshoots, but he doesn't even like Zoroastrians either. He dislikes anyone who's not a Hindu in the country, pretty much. He even dislikes Buddhists. He's not a Pandarmi at all, and neither is the BJP or anyone else in the Indian establishment. He's also pro-Zionist, anti-European, anti-Western, so we have no reason at all to support him or to like him. There's absolutely no reason to. Even though I still think he's better than Trump by miles, he's still as trustworthy as a snake oil salesman, just like Vivek is. Don't fall for this oft-repeated misconception that you have religious nationalist governments in power in South Asia, for nothing could be further from the truth, especially in India's case. It's secular and materialistic and atheistic and anti-religious to the extreme. No one in its government is a religious nationalist in any way. To them, Krishna, the Bhagavad Gita, the Vedas, it's all superstitious woo to them. The same is the case for Pakistan and everyone in the highest echelons of its government. Although Punjabis purportedly have both an ethnic and a state monopoly, the nation's elite is effectively filled with brown Englishmen. The psychological battering and annihilation the British did on the Indians and their Vedic tradition still traumatizes them to this day. And if you look at their elite schools, their universities, their civil service, their army, their press, and their parliamentary system, they all have discernibly British models, never mind their lingua franca still being English. Moreover, India follows the structures of liberal capitalism. If Modi was truly a Dharma nationalist, he would reject all forms of capitalism and socialism and any type of middle way or middle ground between the two and pursue an alternative dharmic model of economic organization, but he hasn't done that. So what you've seen in South Asia since partition is effectively British rule without the British. LATAM has a similar situation. Its whole Spanish rule without the Spanish plight. But India is proclaimed as the world's largest democracy, the world's largest successful democracy at that. But who brought the institutions of parliamentary democracy to the subcontinent in the first place? I'll give Modi full credit for rebuilding the Ayodhya temple, but India isn't exclusively a Hindu nation. Moreover, Hindu and Vedic aren't synonymous with each other. There's Sikhs, there's Zoroastrians, there's Jainists, and even some smattering of Buddhists who are still around there. But he thinks that only Hindus are true Indians. Plus, he's an ignoramus. He doesn't even realize that Hinduism, in its modern guise, was actually concocted by the British. via movements like Arya Samaj, the Ramakrishna Mission, and Hindu Mahasabha. That's inauthentic, and that his pre-colonial forebears didn't even follow it. They followed Sanatana Dharma. None of these Hindutva guys are actually knowledgeable on the Vedic tradition that much at all, or authentic followers of it. This will not be a surprise, but his government's relationship with Pakistan has been horrendous. And all he's done in the past several years, since he's come to power, has only caused Indians to want to flee the country as soon as they can and as fast as they can, willing to work in unskilled and poorly paid call center jobs abroad, doing pizza deliveries and telemarketing, if that means getting out of this hellhole of a country. Canadians, Australians, Americans, and Europeans all have to suffer and bear the burden of the subcontinent's misrule by importing its people without any expectations of integration to a significant capacity from them. And this is the main reason why we have a stake in this upcoming election. Modi is complicit in the ongoing mass migration of Indians into the West, even through fraudulent means like using their international student status and student visas as a ruse, which is precisely what's happening in Canada right now. Canadians are extremely upset about this unfettered migration situation right now and lashing out on them through xenophobia. I don't support any Islamist groups in India, but the Afghans, or Pathans, as they're known in the subcontinent, were the rulers of a lot of Muslim states in India, and they did a lot for the subcontinent. They built cities, they modernized regions. Even Hyderabad had a Nizam state at one point, which did a lot for the Hindus there. So this asshole should respect that. But he, being the good Zionist that he is, does not. Everyone knows about the vendetta Hindus have against Muslims for historical reasons, not just because of partition, but because of the century-spanning genocidal religious cleansing at the hands of the Mughals and their predecessors. There's lots of people in Maharashtra, for example, who were forcefully converted by the Mughals, but most of the subcontinent's conversions took place in the north. That's where the subcontinent's Muslims are concentrated, in Uttar Pradesh, in Kashmir, and in Gujarat, for example, but not really in Maharashtra. They're less than 20% there. There were some conversions that took place there by force, but they were the exception and not the norm. A lot of these conversions just happened because they were revolting against the state's authority. They being the Hindus, which is a big no-no if you're familiar with the concept of fitna, and those only really took off under Aurangzeb and onwards, who was notoriously anti-Hindu. For disclosure's sake, I'm not a fan of the Mughals in any capacity. I'm not a fan of any South Asian Islamic dynasty. I respect their historical significance, but I do not admire them in any way. But the Islamic legacy is viewed with disdain due to the xenophobia towards the infidel polytheists and idolaters and towards the Majusis. Well, now we just have to ask, what do we have in India now? Another side of the same halal dinar, another realm of the Noahide matrix. A country as big and as populated as it is that doesn't want to accommodate minorities when it's historically accommodated everyone from Jews to Armenians to Nestorians to Afghans to Persians. Now Hindus are no longer the protectors of the Zoroastrian community anymore. Modi neither likes nor cares for them and their sensitive demographic situation. Most Indians respect Parsis a lot, but this wanker doesn't. He thinks they're too influential and wants to monopolize Hindu power at the expense of everyone else. Another thing to bear in mind is that the Sikhs also have a vendetta against Muslims for the same reasons the Hindus do. When the Afghans separated off from Iran, they elected their first Shah, Ahmad Shah, and he committed a large scale and destructive genocidal religious cleansing against the Sikhs in their home territory. Even Nader Shah and Ahmad Shah were responsible for a lot of Vedic massacres, unfortunately, but his government's even been replacing the Sikhs in Punjab with Hindus, and his policies are forcing them to migrate to the UK, Canada, and elsewhere, and brainwashing the population to be suspicious of them, for they could be potential Khalistani terrorists, when that's not true at all, man. On paper, India doesn't deserve its plight, and it most certainly doesn't deserve to be impoverished. It deserves to be a great power. You have the BJP, the only explicitly, nominally pagan party in a relevant country that actually has establishment, clout, and power, and it's run by this guy. That's a drag. And this is where I end my dissertation. Thank you for watching.